Hello, lovely soul family. Welcome back to Undefined Life. It's Tash here. Guys, we're living in the upside down. Okay, we are officially living in La La Land, where black is white, and up is down, and a man is a woman, and a woman is a man. And apparently no one in mainstream culture and society seems to want to take responsibility for themselves anymore. And we are very much on a trajectory as a collective at the moment, which is regressive and is actually a step backwards for us as a species. And I wanted to just address this on my channel because if you're here, you're probably awake and aware to the madness that is saturating mainstream society, the radical gender ideology, body positivity movements that are actually just complete shadow bypassing and denial of reality. We are living in a world that is deliberately encouraging people to live in states of perpetual victimhood, which ultimately keeps them powerless, which is really why this entire kind of upside down world is being encouraged by the media, by the elites, because it keeps people cycling in states of disempowerment and ultimately not choosing to take responsibility for their own life and their soul trajectory, and it to some degree hampers the rate of the awakening and how many people are becoming conscious. So I'm not going to dive too deeply into the specific movements like radical gender ideology or, the body positivity movement in this video. I will be creating more content on this because it's close to my heart. I have people moving through experiences in both of those camps that I've mentioned, and I have thoughts on that. But today I just want to address why we're seeing this kind of emerging kind of radical movement, which is being promoted under the guise of self-liberation and authentic expression, and why actually it's almost the antithesis of that. And I also want to just quickly touch on why it's happening at this time during the awakening. So let's just use gender ideology as an example, right? We have moved from a space where 50 plus years ago, gender and our idea of how a woman should present and act and live and how a man should present and live and act were fairly binary, right? So a woman's place is in the kitchen and she didn't have as many rights, and a man was out working and was very stoic and very disconnected to his emotionality. And these were very constricting binary roles that were laid out for men and women. So what I believe is happening across mainstream culture in lots of different arenas, whether that's with the vegan movement, trying to act as a kind of antidote to the mass consumer market when it comes to animal products and animal consumption, whether it's, the body positivity movement, it kind of acting as like an antidote to, real toxic beauty standards, and whether it's gender, the radical gender ideology, which is kind of acting as an antidote to these old gender binary ways of being, right? So the way that I've always seen it is as though the pendulum has to swing from one extreme to another extreme in polarity before we find balance as a collective somewhere in the middle. So, with veganism, the pendulum has swung from eating, mass market meat and really poorly produced in terms of quality and ethics. Dairy products, for example, the pendulum has swung to the vegan movement, which is obviously anti-animal products and the consumption of animals in any way. And I believe that balance will sort of fall somewhere in the middle, because I don't think it's healthy or viable for every single human on the planet to only eat a vegan diet. I believe that we all require different nutrition based on our individual energetic blueprint. It's not just simply a black and white subject. So I think that balance is going to fall somewhere in the middle. And I think that this kind of swinging when it comes to a self-identity, and how you express and your pronouns and all this garbage that's emerging right now is simply the pendulum swinging the other way from an extreme kind of paradigm of restriction and limitation with regards to how women and men should be, it's swinging the other way, right? It's kind of like the rebellion. And so as we're moving into the age of Aquarius, which is a new zodiac phase, which we've entered into it's 2,000 to 2,500 years long, around 2,100 years long. We've just entered into this new astrological phase. And so the energy that's going to be kind of moving through the collective as we continue into this phase is really beginning to dismantle these old ways of being. And it's going to be far more progressive, because that is the energy of Aquarius. And also it's going to be less about that kind of structured, regimented way of being, and actually kind of coming into a more expansive way of being. So I feel that a lot of these movements are part of the evolutionary process that we need to go through as a humanity to start questioning the conditioned ways of being, right? Like, you've got to work the 9 to 5, you've got to go to uni, you've got to work a 40-hour working week, and then when you retire at 65 or 70, then you can enjoy your life. All of these outdated constructs, right, which as a human population we've kind of been adhering to, these arbitrary rules, and actually at the soul level we are shifting consciousness now as a collective to the point where it's just not palatable anymore. There are so many people awakening to the fact that this is not the way that we are kind of designed as spiritual, energetic beings experiencing matter and form. That's not the way that we're designed to live. We're not designed to live with this level of restriction and constriction and limitation. With regards to how we express ourselves, with regards to the choices we make. So I feel that we are living in this period of being in la la land, where people seem to have lost touch with reality, with actual reality, but it's kind of a necessary part of this evolutionary process. As I said, the pendulum has gone from complete restriction and subjugation of minority groups and real limitation, and the pendulum is now swinging to kind of breaking through all of the kind of constructs, but in a very extremist way. And over time, we will move to a place of the kind of conscious balance between the two, because whether it manifests as extreme constriction and limitation or extreme liberation, these are actually two sides of the same coin. They're both unconscious. They're not conscious in what's driving them. To me, how can I say that, the gender ideology movement, for example, and like transgenderism being a huge movement that's kind of sweeping mainstream culture, how do I know that this isn't necessarily being driven by something deeply conscious? To me, if we are celebrating the butchering of the human body with regards to going through chemical, hormonal, surgical procedures to change the form in an extreme way, that's not conscious. Because if we were truly conscious, integrated, and coming from a place of loving awareness, we would see the vessel that allows us to navigate this human experience as sacred. So to me, this movement feels very unsacred. It feels very egoic, right? And that's kind of the point, because we've gone from the ego having to adhere to like these set ways of being, and now the ego is saying, I'm going to find my own identity, but it's still fixated on identity. So that's how you know it's the realm of the ego, because the soul is not concerned with labels or fixed identity. The soul doesn't need to have defined pronouns. So for many of us on the awakening journey, who are trying to live consciously, who are trying to do our integration work within ourselves and trying to move through the collective experience with more conscious awareness, you're probably, like me, looking at what's happening in the world and thinking, what the fuck? What's happening? And, we are living in the end of days. in kind of biblical terms, this is the end of days, but it's not the end of days in terms of apocalyptic conditions as perhaps was sold in the Bible or was interpreted from the Bible and Revelations. The end of days is the collapsing of the old ways. So for the ego, for our collective ego as a humanity and for our individual egos, it's going to feel like the apocalypse. And apocalypse actually means, the etymology of it means to uncover or to reveal. So the apocalypse that we are currently kind of moving through is less about complete destruction at every level of our being, although to the ego it's going to feel like a lot of disillusion and destruction. It's actually about the uncovering of truth. It's actually about the revelation of truth. And part and parcel of that process, for truth to be revealed on the planet, for the nature of this reality to be revealed, for the spiritual dimension of our existence to be revealed and integrated, we have to go through a dissolution process. So yeah, you could say we're living in the apocalypse, we're living in the end of the days. And what's going to be emerging on the global stage is going to look terrifying to the ego. I'll be honest. We are really, if you're alive during this point in the collective evolutionary process, you're here for a reason. Because this is not a normal transit and time in our evolutionary process. This is the crossroads point. This is the moment, the accelerating moment in our spiritual evolution as a species, and for the planet too, where things really start to both ramp up in terms of how our frequency shifts, but also then in turn how much things begin to dissolve. And so I think we can expect a little bit more crazy on the planet for the next couple of months, years, decades, possibly even centuries. We've got some crazy stuff to experience, and people are going to, people are already trying to grapple for some sense of identity at the moment. That's going to really come into question as the known ways dissolve in the physical. So we're going to be, when the truth of this reality and the nature of what's been happening on planet Earth in terms of elite paedophilia, in terms of, child trafficking, in terms of the levels of corruption at the upper levels and upper echelons of society, when that's all revealed and people see who's involved, people that they've idolized and put on pedestals, when they see the nature of the systems that they've invested so heavily in, and they see what's driving them, which is greed and corruption, and actually the disempowerment of humanity, when they understand the levels of depravity that have been playing out in humanity, that's going to send some people a little bit cuckoo, right? I know that when I went through my awakening, to not just my individual kind of awakening to the nature of myself, right? Like the ego was not who I was. When I went through my actual awakening to the distortion at the level of the 3D physical world, I was plunged into this space of, I was in the rabbit hole, guys. I was like in this space. It was 2016. It was around the Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump campaign time. And there was a revelation that came out around involving pizza. A lot of people don't seem to remember this, but it was huge. And I did a lot of research into it. And I will never forget what I saw. I will never forget what I uncovered. But when I went through that stage, it destroyed me. At one point in my life, I wanted to be an actress, and then I wanted to be an entertainment journalist. I idolized Hollywood and the music industry, and I thought I was going to be in that kind of space and really kind of amplifying these people that I thought were great. When I went through that awakening to realize that it was all fucking bullshit, that so many of these people that I put on pedestals were deviants, were involved in satanic shit. And it wasn't just hearsay. I saw some stuff that I will never be able to unsee. And so, I've got chills and goosebumps just thinking about it. That was a very dark time for me. And that dark time is what we're moving into as a collective now. And so this crazy stint that we're living in, where people are just going la-la, where they've completely, excuse me for knocking the laptop. This crazy time we're living where people are denying objective reality and truth to try and suit their own individual sense of identity and their own internal reality. Like, this is just part of the process as people's psyche begins to dissolve, for want of a better word, and all of the constructs and all the ideologies and all of the ways of being that they've been so attached to start to get questioned. We're going to see a lot more crazy on the planet. But I will be speaking more about this, and I feel pushing back, because my path and my teachings are rooted in the loving inclusion and awareness of all, right? In terms of who we are and what we're here to awaken to. And what I see happening in a lot of these more extreme movements that are arising right now is a lot of shadow bypassing, and there's a lot of unconsciousness fueling what's happening on the planet right now. And you only have to look at interviews and, you know, news segments with people who are really entrenched in these kind of radical ideologies to just see how deluded they are. I'm here for awakening. I'm here for the awakening within myself, and I'm here to awaken and to witness the awakening of others for the greater good. Because if we continue to live in states of delusion and distortion and egoic identification, we will eventually destroy ourselves and the planet and lose complete connection to source. Which is kind of what they're trying to do with the AI transhuman movement. That's exactly what they're trying to do. So I just wanted to address very quickly the fact that we are currently living in La La Land. And if you've noticed this and you're thinking, where are all the sane people? Why is everyone saying that a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man? And why is no one questioning that? You're not going crazy. You're just seeing truth with third eye open when these other people are very heavily entrenched in their own egoic consciousness. And that's not necessarily even judgment, it's just the truth of it, right? We've all been there. I certainly was very, very heavily egoic and entrenched not that long ago. And I'm still working through lots of my own stuff. So I'm not saying any of this out of judgment necessarily, but I am saying that the awakening path requires us to acknowledge and embrace and integrate all truth. And what's occurring on the planet right now in terms of mainstream culture is just further down the spiral and pit of unconsciousness. So it needs to be called out so that we can course correct and continue to pursue and embody our potential as humans in this physical experience, because we are so fucking far as a humanity at this particular moment from embracing our potential. But the awakening will change that. And it is changing that. It's just gonna be a bit of a bumpy ride along the way. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me on this bumpy ride. That is the Earth School. And I hope that if you aren't already subscribed and you're enjoying my content, you hit the subscribe button. Please like and share this. It helps with the algorithm. Come and join me on Instagram if you're on there at Undefined Life, spelt in the same way as my YouTube channel. I'm going to be more present on YouTube. I really love creating on this platform. So I will be more present on here. As always, if you've got any video requests, please send them in or write them in the comments. If you'd like to work with me on a one-to-one basis or in group coaching, I'm now offering that. I have a course running in July, which is for empath empowerment. So it's really helping empaths, sensitive souls and light workers come into self-love and create abundance within their reality so that they can ultimately achieve what it is they're here to achieve as liberated souls. So if you've got any other questions, feel free to email me, and I look forward to connecting with you again very soon.